And finally, the third pillar towards building self-love is to start building a relationship with yourself. Now, I've already explained why this is so important, but I think it's something that really, once we commit to this relationship with ourselves, to this deep commitment and appreciation of ourselves, we start to really get to know ourselves. We start to learn to also build trust. And when we trust ourselves, then we start to know that actually what we think or how we feel is maybe not always right, but that it's worth paying attention to. So when you think about when you meet someone, you're getting to know them, you're falling in love with someone, you want to know everything. You want to know their hopes, their fears, their dreams. You want to know what makes them tick. You want to get inside their mind. And when you do this, you start to build trust. You allow space for vulnerability. And this should be no different with ourselves. Learning or starting on the path of learning who you are, what turns you on, what lights you up, is going to allow this deep trust to build. Allowing yourself to really trust yourself to know what is good for you and what is not. Now, this doesn't mean that you allow your ego to become so inflamed that you don't listen to the people around you. Of course not. It's just that when you can learn to really trust yourself, then you are able to feel like you have your back. You are empowered. You are independent. You don't need to get validation, essentially, from someone else. Now, there are many different ways that you can do this too. For some people, it's journaling, it's writing down the thoughts that are in their mind. For some people, it's drawing, painting, art. For some people, it's having quiet time, whether that's meditation, sitting by themselves, listening to what's going on or feeling into what's going on. For other people, it's going hiking, going wandering in the mountains alone. For some people, yet it's sitting in a cafe with a cup of coffee and not reading anything, just watching the world go by and at the same time listening to what's going on inside. For some people, it's all of the above. For some people, it's none of the above. The idea here is to start looking at ways that you can listen to that little niggling voice in the back of the head. Find ways to allow it to come out. Another way that we can start to develop the relationship with ourselves is by developing ourselves with courses like this one. Learning what makes us tick. How we can uncover our true selves through the many, many layers of conditioning that have been built up over our lifetimes. And when we start to do this, when we start to build a relationship with ourselves, when we start to build trust with ourselves, then we also start to find out what we're passionate about. What do we love doing? Who do we love being with? What lights us up? And this is such a great thing, because when we find that, then we can learn to love ourselves even more. I love myself a lot more now that I've found what it is that lights me up, because before I didn't really know. I felt quite lost. I didn't know what I was here to do. I was just here, going through life and knowing that I wanted something more without knowing what it was. And now, or at least at this moment in time, I'm fairly certain that I love what I do. And I enjoy connecting with people. I enjoy sharing knowledge with people. And when I learned this, I learned to love myself even more. It was like bringing a piece of myself back home to myself. So there are many, many different ways that you can apply these three pillars, whether it's through yoga, whether it's through Pilates, whether it's through bubble baths, whether it's through putting on a backpack and going traveling. But when you always have these three pillars in mind, being kind to the mind, nurturing the physical body, developing a relationship with yourself, then you start to lay foundations. And these foundations provide a stable container for all of the ways that self-love can manifest for you. So with that in mind, the next activity you will find on page 6 again, a table with these 3 pillars at the top. And what I want you to do is to start to list different things that you can do according to each pillar to start bringing self-love into yourself. Now, don't worry if some of them seem silly. If nurturing the physical body for you means painting your toes in your favorite color, then that's absolutely fine. Write it down. It doesn't have to be something big. It doesn't have to be anything that's going to change the world tomorrow. The idea is to tap into what feels good for you. So take a moment now. Write down all the different ways that you can start bringing self-love into your life today, right now maybe. And I'll see you in the next video where we're going to start talking about allowing ourselves permission to do these things.